Friends, welcome to our channel Study with PK. And in this channel we discuss about the studies and their notes and explanation videos. So in this video we will be covering about chapter number 1, how I taught my grandmother to read. That's about class 9th. So class 9 students, please pay attention to this video, that's very important for you. So firstly we will begin with the reflect and respond, and that's a very extra question, I think so, because only the third question is of use, because it tells us about the some word meanings that are very important for us. So we will do that only. So first, protagonist, that means main character. Then comes debate, which means discussion. Episode, part of the story. Community, people living in one particular area. Concentration means focused. Eagerly means excitedly. Convincing, which means believable. Guided means directed. Okay, then we will move on and see what's next. Then here comes our reading for meaning, and it's very important because it talks about what we will be reading in this chapter. So basically this chapter is written by Sudha Murty, a famous writer, and she is famous for children writings, and we will be covering first part in this video. So let us read. When I was a girl of about 12, I used to stay in a village in North Karnataka with my grandparents. Those days the transport system was not very good, so we used to get the morning papers only in the afternoon. The weekly magazine used to come one day late. All of us would wait eagerly for the bus, which used to come with the papers, weekly magazines, and the post. So in the first paragraph it's being told that um, there is a girl who's the narrator, and she lives in a small village in North Karnataka along with her grandparents, and the time is about when the transport system was not very good, so they used to get the morning papers in afternoon and the weekly papers one day late. So they would wait eagerly for the bus because it would come with papers, weekly magazines, and the post. So let us move on to the next paragraph. That's about a famous writer. So let us read. At that time, Triveni was a very popular writer in the Kannada language. She was a wonderful writer. Her style was easy to read and very convincing. Her stories usually dealt with complex psychological problems in the lives of ordinary people and were always very interesting. So basically friends, इसमें क्या हमें बताया जा रहा है कि there was a writer named Triveni. She was a Kannada language writer and was very popular. She was very wonderful too, as her style was easy to read, very convincing. We got the meaning of the convincing in the starting of the video only. That's believable. Her stories usually dealt with the complex psychological problems in the lives of ordinary people and were always very interesting. So that's why the narrator would be loving to read that. So let us tune to our story only. So then comes next paragraph. That's about unfortunately for Kannada literature. She died very young. Even now, after 40 years, people continue to appreciate her novels. So we are getting to know some important facts that she wrote novels, and she after 40 years too, people continue to appreciate it. She died very young, and it was very unfortunate for Kannada literature. So let us read next. One of her novels, called Kashi Yatre, was appearing as a serial in the Kannada weekly Karamveera then. It was a story of an old lady and her ardent desire to go to Kashi or Varanasi. Most Hindus believe that going to Kashi and worshipping Lord Vishveshwara is the ultimate punya. This old lady also believed in this. Her struggle to go there was described in that novel. In the story, there was also an orphan girl who falls in love, but there was no money for the wedding. In the end, the old lady gives away all her savings without going to Kashi. She says the happiness of this orphan girl is more important than worshipping Lord Vishweshwara at Kashi. So basically, in this um, sorry. So basically, in this paragraph, we are being told that it's all about a novel writer who wrote a novel called Kashi Yatre, and that novel talks about an old lady who is very willingly desired to go to Kashi or Varanasi because she wanted to worship Lord Vishweshwara, as it is considered the ultimate punya. Then there is another story parallel inside this story, that's about a young orphan girl who falls in love but has no money for the wedding. In the end, the old lady gives away all her savings without going to Kashi. She says that the happiness of the orphan girl is more important than worshipping Lord Vishweshwara at Kashi. So it's all about her sacrifice of her winning desire. So then comes our next paragraph, that's about the narrator's own personal life. So friends, please keep this in mind that this is a very interesting story, but it confuses you because there are two stories running parallel, one of that narrator and one of that Kashi Yatre that is inside the story. So we have to keep that in mind too. So then comes we come inside the narrator's life, where we come to know that her grandmother Krishtakka never went to school, so she could not read. Every Wednesday the magazine would come. In the starting we came to know that the magazines would come one day late. So as this is a weekly magazine, Karamvira, so it was released on one day before, that's Tuesday. During that time, that she would never forgot all her work and listen with the let me move ahead, greatest concentration. Later she could repeat the entire text by heart. My grandmother too never went to Kashi. She identified herself with the novel's protagonist. So more than anybody else, she was the one most interesting in knowing what happened next in the story, and used to insist that I read the serial out to her. So basically friends, हमें इसमें क्या बताया जा रहा है कि the writer's grandmother Krishtakka never went to school as because she was not able to go, and thus she could not read. Every Wednesday the magazine would come and the next episode was read out to her, that's the grandmother, by her granddaughter. During that time she would forget all her work and listen with the greatest concentration. Later she could repeat the entire text by heart to rectify herself as she has remembered the correct thing or not, and she always identified herself with the novel's protagonist, and she was most interested in knowing what happened next, and always the grandmother insisted her granddaughter to read out the serial to her. Then, after hearing what happened to next in Kashi Yatre, she would join her friends in the temple courtyard, where we children would also gather to play hide and seek. So basically, friends, we are getting told that next the incidents in Kashi Yatre were told by the narrator's grandmother to her friends, so that and she could rectify herself. And where did she told that? In the temple's courtyard, where the children also gathered to play hide and seek. So this is the scene, this is a graphic of the temple courtyard with the grandmother sitting along with her friends, and the children here are playing hide and seek. So this is a very nice book, and the temple is depicted in the background. She would discuss the latest episode with her friends At that time, I would never understood why there was so much of debate about the story. So basically, the writer is telling that she would discuss the latest episode with her friends, and at that time, she never understood why there was so much debate about the story, because according to the narrator, who was a 12-year-old girl, she couldn't understand the importance of discussing that story. Once I went for a wedding with my cousins to the neighboring village. In those days, a wedding was a great event. We children enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. We would eat and play endlessly, savoring the freedom because all the elders were busy. I went for a couple of days but ended up staying there for a week. So basically, in this paragraph, we are getting told that the narrator went to a wedding with her cousins to the neighboring village, and in those days, wedding was a great event, and the children used to enjoy thoroughly because they got the freedom to the fullest limit because all the elders were busy. So they went for a couple of days but ended up staying there for a week. And here is a new word, that's savoring, which is told inside the book only, and another new word is not present, so we will skip it and move on to the next. When I came back to my village, I saw my grandmother in tears. I was surprised, and for I had never seen her cry even in the most difficult situations. What happened? What had happened? I was worried. So basically, in this paragraph, we are getting told that when the narrator came back to the village, she saw her grandmother's in tears, and she was surprised. She was showing her in tears, and she was surprised because she never saw her cry even in the most difficult situations. So the lady is a very bold lady, and she is very strong. So she thought that what had happened, and she was very worried. The narrator was very worried. Then comes Abba, is everything alright? Are you okay? Asked the narrator. The narrator had asked this so that she could get to know what had actually happened. And she used to call her grandmother Abba, which means mother in Kannada, spoken in northern Karnataka. So we are getting known that the narrator lived in northern Karnataka. She nodded but did not reply. I did not understand and forgot about it. In the night after dinner, we were sleeping in the open terrace of our house. It was a summer night and there was a full moon. Ava came and sat next to me. Her affectionate hands touched my forehead. I realized she wanted to speak. I asked her, "What is the matter?" So, actually, here it is being told that the granddaughter not asked her grandmother that what had happened, but she nodded. She shook her head and but did not reply. So she could not understand and forgot about it, and because she is a small girl, she could not understand its meaning. And after dinner, when they were sleeping in the open terrace of this house, the scene was of a summer night, and there was a full moon. Then her grandmother came and sat next to her, and her affectionate hands touched the narrator's forehead. She realized that her grandmother wanted to speak. She asked her what's the matter, and then we will read next. When I was a young girl, I lost my mother. There was nobody to look after and guide me. My father was a busy man and got married again. In those days, people never considered education essential for girls, so I never went to school. I got married very young and had children. I became very busy. Later, I had grandchildren and always felt so much happiness in cooking and feeding all of you. At times, I used to regret not going to school, so I made sure that my children and grandchildren studied well. So basically, here it is telling us that what her grandmother told her. She told that when she was the grandmother told her that when she was very young, she lost her mother, and there was nobody to look after and guide her. And her father was a busy man. He got married again, and in those days, people never considered education essential for girls. So basically here girl education importance is being highlighted. And then she's telling that so she never went to school. She got married very young and had children. Later she became very busy in cooking and feeding all of them, and at times she used to regret not going to school because there would be some situations when she came to know about the importance of education. So she made sure that all her children and grandchildren studied well. So along with this we have completed our part 1 and we will be completing this part now. That's about check your understanding. So complete the cause and effect table given below based on part 1 of the story. Share your answer with the classmates and teachers. So first question, cause and effect. So we have to fill in this table, and here we are given the effect and cause for some situations, and we have to fill in the cause for effects and effects for causes. So firstly, so here we are getting told that the morning papers arrive late in the day and weekly magazines would come one day late. So this is the effect. So what the cause would be? So we will write here that it is all because of the transport was very loose, and we can write it by ourselves too. Then comes the cause, that the grandmother Krishtakka never went to school. Effect, she always regretted it, and hence she made sure that all her children and grandchildren studied well. Then comes an effect that she was deeply interested in the story and discussed it with the friends. So what the cause it would be? And the protagonist, she identified herself along with the protagonist, and uh, also wanted to go to Kashi. The narrator went to a wedding for a week. This is the cause, and we have to write the effect. Grandmother could not get daily episodes, and she regretted her not going to school. Then comes this fifth question. The grandmother never went to school. What the cause would be? Because the people at that time never considered good for girls to go to school. It was not very essential for them. So, and her mother died very young. Then comes sixth question, that's the grandmother regretted not going to school. This is all because of the grandmother regretted not going to school because at times she could not read or write, and hence she would be regretting her not going to school. Then comes our second and third question. Do you think the narrator accepted to see her grandmothers in tears when she returned to village? If yes, why? If no, why not? No, basically the narrator would not accept to see her grandmothers in tears because she had never seen her in tears even in the most difficult situations. How might the narrator help her grandmother to fulfill her desire to learn to read and write? Basically, she could teach her or either take her classes and to someone else teacher so that she could educate herself and become self-dependent. So that's all for today's video. Thank you for seeing my video till the end. So thank you for seeing this. Please remember to like and subscribe my channel, and that's all for today. Thank you.